Hold up. Wait a minute. I wish you love, peace, and hair grease.
Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
This is Carla Renata, aka the Curvy Critic, and I shoot straight from the hip.
Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip. Love, peace, and hair grease. Yeah, you know I'm shooting straight from the hip.
Let's take a trip around the curve.
Hampton, but we the real HU, girl. Hi, everybody. It's your girl, Carla Renata, a.k.a. the Curvy Film Critic. Welcome back to another episode 201. We had a big 200 episode celebration last week, and it was a lot of fun. If you've never been here before, I am your host, Carla Renata, and what we do here is we do reviews, film reviews, and talk to people above and below the line in the film industry. I have some great interviews for you today with the cast of with the cast of Ptolemy Gray, which is on Apple TV Plus, a review of Turning Red, a interview with Nicole Hirsch Whitaker, the cinematographer for the Hulu series Shining Vale, and I have somebody else. Who is it? Let me see who it is. Oh, and Leighton Meester from Netflix's film The Weekend Away. So I usually start out the episode by talking about what I did the week before and do a little around the curve action. I'm going to put around the curve up a little later because I'm on my way to an event. And I'll put it up where you can see it on YouTube and TikTok, I think is where I put it. So there's that. And so what I did last week is I attended the AFCA Awards. I got my little Halston dress, honey. I thought I was looking too cute. AFCA is the African American Film Critics Association, of which I am a member, and they celebrated their 13th year. They gave out all of their awards there. And then this weekend, I hit the Film Independent Spirit Awards, where I also ran into Andrew Garfield, who is an Oscar nominee for Tick, Tick, Boom. And in honor of Tick, Tick, Boom, the Critics' Choice Association had a little moon dance diner action celebration for him. And then I always like to bring to light my little friend Brandon, who always comes in and says hello and watches the show live. He sent me these photos of Turning Red, the characters of Turning Red, and I always love to give him some love when he does that. All right, so let's get right on into it, shall we? Without further ado. I am so silly. All right, so the first interview I have for you is from Shining Vale, the cinematographer Nicole Hirsch Whitaker. This is International Women's Month, and I shed the light on women in various lanes of the entertainment film industry. And today, I'm shedding a light on the women that are in Ptolemy Gray. I'm shedding light with Leighton Meester from Netflix, and I'm shedding light with Nicole Hirsch Whitaker. So take a look and a listen to this really interesting interview. This is going to be a good one for people that are working behind the scenes. She sheds so much light into her process. So take a look and a listen to this interview with Nicole Hirsch Whitaker. So when you shoot, for example, when you shoot stuff like those attic scenes, which is, and the reason I said the cinematography of this is tricky is because you have to give it that overall dark tone, but it's kind of a dramedy, like you alluded to, right? So you got to give it that dark tone in this look, but you still got to have it bright enough for when you see the characters, that comedy still kind of bleeds through. How do you go about accomplishing that, especially in those attic scenes where it's bananas? That your what you do with a camera is beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I know that was our first shoot day, and that was the only thing we did on stage, which made it a lot easier because I had a lot of control over the lighting and where I could light Courtney. And, we knew, obviously, I had done a lot of very dark shows, but I knew because of the comedy aspect of this that, we had to see people's faces and their eyes. And we talked about that a lot, that we wanted to go dark, but we also wanted to make sure that we saw people. So that was one of the pluses of being on stage, was I was able to place lights and light her beautifully. And she was really cool. She came in a day early so that I could see her on camera before we started shooting. And I lit her, and, you know, she's so gorgeous and beautiful to light. And it was like, we just popped one light and put a lot of diffusion and did some filter tests. And she was like, we were done. We're like, okay, let's come back tomorrow. She was awesome.
Now, what was it that, of all the different fields that you could have embarked upon in the film industry, what was it about being a cinematographer that gravitated you toward that?
Well, I started off as a photographer. So I was always wanting to do something visual. And then when I went to film school, I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do. And I assumed I was going to do cinematography. That was sort of my goal. But I did get sidetracked for a while and did some other things. But eventually I just wanted to tell stories. And I felt like, you know, cinematography for me was the only way to do that, just wanting to do something on the photography
shot list. So when you pull out your shot list, how important is it for you, after you've read the script, to do a shot list to make sure that when you do these shots, when someone turns the volume down, they still can understand what the story is?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. We talk about this all the time. So like when I look for reference for things, I obviously don't listen to the sound, but I also know how important sound and, you know, score and sound effects and all of that is. But you're right. If you can turn off the sound I mean, that's a huge compliment, because if you can turn the sound off, because the sound brings so much to a product. By the way, I'm very upset that sound is not going to be at the Academy Awards anymore. I think that's,
oh girl, that's a whole, we can talk about that if you want to. You can give your opinion on that. I'd love to hear it.
Yeah. But I do think if you know, I mean, what we try to do as cinematographers is enhance the story, because at the heart of it, the story is what's important. I can get onto a project and do the best work I've ever done, beautiful shots, you know, be gratuitous and selfish and make it all about the cinematography. But at the end of the day, if the story isn't good, it doesn't really matter. So I'm always like, I'm just trying to enhance the story. And I'm really, you know, I'm very patient about that, because a lot of times you're like, oh, but this shot would be better because it's cooler and more interesting. But if it doesn't serve the story, it doesn't make sense. And that was what was so cool about this project, was it was a complete like divorce from that mentality. Like it was all about the visuals. And I was shocked that they were on board with that for a comedy show. It was really, really fun. Like they just were like, do it, go for it. You know, it was really fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you addressed that, because now I'm a friend and a fan. I've seen a lot of your work, so I was really excited to have the opportunity to get to talk to you. I saw Truth Be Told, I saw Jupiter's Legacy, I've seen The Cooler. Like, girl, I'm a friend and a fan, like for real, for real. But before we get up out of here, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Let's just talk about your feelings about how they have shifted and adjusted the Academy Awards for this year. How are you feeling?
Yeah, listen, I understand it's a television show, and I understand there are ratings and there are issues, but I also feel like the Academy Awards has always been about the craft, and the Globes are about the, you know, glamour, and the Critics' Choice Awards are about the, you know, the audience, and each award show is about what it's about. And I always felt like the Academy Awards was like the pinnacle for the craft. And I think that putting those people that do that work, that make a film, and putting them sort of on the back burner is, I think it's a shame. I think, you know, you cannot make a movie without a production designer. You cannot make a movie without sound. You cannot make a movie without hair and makeup or wardrobe. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's sort of like, if that's what they want to make that show about, then it's not, to me, the Academy Awards anymore.
You're right. It's like a slap in the face. And I say, and thank you for sharing that. And kudos to you for saying it. Because I say that all the time. If it's not for the cinematographers, if it's not for the sound and the editing and the costumes and the makeup and the hair, all of those departments, the actors would be standing there butt naked saying some lines, and the script writer too. And if the script writer wasn't there, they wouldn't even have the lines. You know what I mean?
Totally,
So
totally.
yeah, I think it's a slap in the face to do that, and it's not right. And you're absolutely right in your testament of saying it was about the craft. There's been a seismic shift, I think, in the zeitgeist in terms of those types of things due to COVID and everything going digital and people being about ratings and numbers and this and that. So, hopefully it will go back to the craft, but it was sad to see it divert from that this year. I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, and listen, I get it. I mean, it's hard. It's hard to sit through those shows, and no one, and it's a shame that nobody sees the shorts and nobody really knows who these people are. But it was never what that awards show was about to me. And there's plenty of other award shows that are about that, and it's a little, yeah, like you said, it's a little bit of a slap in the face to the people who make films.
It is. It really is. It really is. But girl, that is my time. And I just want to say this before I hop up out of this interview. I meant what I said earlier. I am a huge friend and a fan. And somebody that can take something like The Cooler and then jump from something like Jupiter's Legacy, like that superhero vibe, and then jump to Truth Be Told, and then jump to Shining Vale. Mama, that takes skill. It takes skill, it takes talent, and it takes patience, all of which you have in spades. This has been my immense opportunity to talk to you.
Oh, thanks. Well, wait till you see what I'm doing here. I'm doing a live action Japanese anime.
Oh, please tell me when that happens so I can talk to you about that, because that's a whole different genre.
It'll be out in 2023.
That's all right, girl. I'll be here. Just reach out to a sister and let me know.
All right.
Thanks, Nicole.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Let me tell you something. I meant what I said, and I'm so happy that she gave me a little commentary on this issue that's happening with the Oscars. It is supposed to be about the technical parts of the film and not so much about the actors. And I'm an actor, so, for me to say that, that's saying something. But thank you, Nicole, for your time and your candor concerning that issue. Nicole's series, Shining Vale, I misspoke before. It is on Starz, not Hulu, but Shining Vale is on Starz. There's 8 episodes. It's been up since March 6th, which was yesterday. It is produced by Starz and Capital Entertainment, my friend Aaron Kaplan's company, and it stars Courtney Cox and Greg Kinnear. And just to give you a little insight about what the limited series is about, it's about this family that moves to a small town into a house which has terrible atrocities that have taken place in it, but no one seems to notice except for Pat, who is Courtney Cox, who's convinced she's either depressed or possessed. Turns out the symptoms are exactly the same. Again, that's Shining Vale, which is streaming right now on Starz. So I saw this film called The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, and it's written by Walter Mosley, who's one of my favorite authors. And if you know that name from The Devil in the Blue Dress. He wrote that. He has so many varied stories, but he has a whole series of easy books that revolve around that character that was in Devil in the Blue Dress, which was played by Denzel Washington back in the day. But now Apple TV Plus has taken The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray and turned it into a limited series, which will be airing on Apple TV Plus beginning on March 11th. I believe the first 2 episodes will be up. It is directed by a variety of different directors, which include Hanel M. Culpepper, Guillermo Navarro, Raymond Bahrani, and our own Academy Award-winning choreographer, Tony nominee, Emmy winner, Miss Debbie Allen. And y'all know that name from Fame. I want to live forever. Yeah, that was really busted, but whatever. Y'all get the point. Anyway, Ptolemy Gray, who's played by Samuel L. Jackson, is 91, and he's on the brink of shrinking into dementia. But his experiences but he experiences a seismic shift when he's given the opportunity to briefly regain his memories. He uses his fleeting lucidity to solve his nephew's death and come to terms with his past. I spoke with several members of that cast, and no, I did not speak with Samuel L. Jackson, and my mama loves him. She calls him Sammy. So, Sammy, if you watching, please holler at your girl so that and let my mama be in the room for it, because she will get her entire life. But I spoke to several of the cast members, including Marsha Stephanie Blake, Omar Benson, Cynthia K. McKinney, and Dominique Fishbeck. So we're going to get the party started with this first one with Omar and Omar Benson Miller and Marsha Stephanie Blake from The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray.
Hey, Miss Carla.
Hey, Miss Curvy. I love the name.
You look beautiful.
So do you, darling, but you always do. And thank you, Omar, for the compliment. Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get into it, y'all. So you guys were, well, Marsha was especially deliciously devilish as Niecy.
Thank you.
Yes, girl, all of that. And Omar, you broke my heart as Reggie. And so having said that, for Marsha, where did you have to go to bring Niecy to the screen? And for Reggie, how did growing up in Mississippi help you connect with this character for the film? And I'll start with Marsha first.
I think every decision Niecy makes is coming from a place of love, whether it feels like love or not. I think just the way we define love is different for everyone anyway, but I think it's her decision to not take care of Ptolemy personally is because she has a hard time seeing her uncle like that. It's because of all the love she has for him that she's unable to move forward. And I think that's a really human thing that happens, when someone who you admire, you love, who you've seen be a strong person. I watch it with my own dad. You watch somebody who you think is the strongest person you've ever seen in your entire life. Once they start weakening, you lose your foundation as a person watching it happen. And I think Niecy just is starting to lose her foundation. And you call her devilish. I think a lot of the devilish move she makes is because she's really rattled. And she's unstable in that she no longer, she's been put in the position of being the one in charge for many, many years. And she doesn't feel like this is a position she can even fulfill. She doesn't know what to do.
Yeah, my favorite moment with her, and I say, and before we get to you, Omar, my favorite moment with her is at the end where she hugs Robin, and you think for a minute she gonna be like, okay, girl, come on, let's do this. And she's like, no, I'm gonna keep fighting and walk away. I'm like, oh, wow.
It's complicated, Carla.
But that speaks to what you just said. Go ahead, Omar.
Now, mine is brief. Now, my parents are from the South. My father's from Mississippi. And so I spent a lot of time in Mississippi, but I grew up in California. But one thing that carried over is with all the Southerners, taking care of the elderly, being around the elderly is a common occurrence. And it's a weekly, if not daily occurrence. And so I grew up checking on the elderly people in our family and in our extended family sphere constantly. And the things that you learn and the way that it shapes you as a young person, because your mind is moving fast and you're moving fast and you think you know everything, and the actual wisdom that the older people can impart upon you while you're doing physical things to help them. Like when I was a kid, the high tech was setting up a VCR. That was like a big deal. And I remember my dad used to take me places and be like, he can set it up, gone. And it was like, whoa! I was like a, Nikola Tesla or something, because I could set up the cables on the VCR. But that was a big deal for them. And, for them to be able to tape their shows and tape the soap operas and so on and so forth. That kind of stuff has impacted me in my life. And the thing that the way that ties into the Last Days of Ptolemy Gray is you see somebody who is taking care of somebody who took care of him when he was younger. And the things that he's doing now, he's doing out of love. He's taking care of his uncle because it's the right thing to do, not because he's looking for something in return. He's not looking for some a medal or some cookies or something. He's there because it's the right thing to do, and it speaks to the dynamic nature of family and the complicated nature, like Marsh was talking about, a family where everybody has to make decisions all the time that you may or may not be equipped to make. And it becomes especially complicated when you have to make those decisions for people who you are used to making decisions for you, or at the very minimum for themselves. And in that, he's looking for advice from his uncle that his uncle may no longer be able to give him. And it's kind of the catalyst of what one of the storylines that takes place in the show.
That was a beautiful moment, that moment right there where we eventually see what it was that he wanted to get that advice from his uncle about. And you guys are right. When it comes to, I watched this with my mom, and you're right about, when you watch this with a family member, it's everything, especially an elderly family member. I take care of my mom. So it was cool to watch this with her. She's a huge fan of Samuel L. Jackson Child. She see everything he in. So all I had to say was Sammy was in it and she was all down for the cause. But this is a really important limited series regarding how important family is. And like you said, Omar, they ask you to do stuff when they get older that they would do for you. So it's really a wonderful, wonderful project. And I was happy to see both of you in it. And I'm really happy that I had an opportunity to sit down and chat with you for a second about it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Carla.
Thank you, Carla.
Now, just before I get to the next interview with who am I going to put? With Cynthia K. McWilliams first. This is a very important limited series. It really does speak to how we treat our elderly, how we look at our elderly, and especially when someone is struggling with memory issues. It's very, very heartbreaking, and it's extremely difficult to deal with if you are the child that is taking care of the parent, because now all of a sudden the roles have switched. But going into this new interview with Cynthia, I remember Cynthia from the show called Nashville. We talk about that for a minute. But Cynthia plays Cynthia, who is Ptolemy's love of his life. And he was married to her and some things happened with her. But I'm going to let Cynthia talk about Cynthia. Here we go. Cynthia K. McWilliams from the last days of Ptolemy Gray.
Hello, Curvy critic.
Hey, Miss Cynthia. Hey, I see we both got the memo about what to wear for the interview.
You got to give them a little something, not too much.
I love it, girl. I kept looking at you, thinking that you looked familiar to me for some reason, and I remembered I saw you on Nashville. I loved you. Loved it. That was my show, girl. I loved you on that show.
That was a good show. That was a fun show.
And I was glad to see some Black people, like True Talk. But anyway,
there's always it was about a 1 per season ratio. I know, but I was glad that I was able to represent for us in season 5 or whatever that was.
Girl, I was happy to see you there. I really was. I really was. So
I enjoyed that show.
Yes. So let's talk a little bit about the last days. Cynthia oozes sexuality, but yet she's really smart and she's really tough. How much of her is in you?
I enjoyed reading Cynthia and playing Cynthia. I think because it was one of the first times I've been able to occupy a character that allowed me to be a fuller version of myself, to have my sensuality and my strength and my curiosity and intelligence and challenge all be in this person. I think more and more, fortunately, we are beginning to see that the Black woman's voice, her narrative, is a story worth being told, and that there are so many varied ways to tell that story because we are so varied. And I think our experiences, our perspective, and the way that we inhabit and occupy a scene is beginning to really be valued in a way that it was not, maybe even just 5 years ago. I know during the course of my career, I feel it so tangibly, and I'm so grateful for it. So yes, I loved that I found a lot of myself in Cynthia. I loved being able to play with all those parts. It was very freeing and very exciting.
It was exciting to watch. It really, really was. You did a fantabulous job.
Thank you so much.
Oh, yeah, of course, sis. I know that this was written and based on a book by Walter Mosley. He's one of my favorite authors. So
I as well.
When was the last time? Well, not the last time. What is your favorite Walter Mosley book and or film?
Oh, I mean, I think all of the Rollins, Easy Rollins, all Easy Rollins. I mean, it's just, what a fantastic character. And I think, now, it's like, I think, I feel like Sam says this. I feel like Sam always says this. I feel like now, am I stealing something that he said? And I've decided it was my own because I was about to quote him. And I was like, I think that's his. That whatever his...
Girl, go ahead and run with it.
Right,
I would.
When people say what your favorite character is, I do. I did say it before him, maybe.
When people say what's your favorite character is, and I always say it's the one I'm playing now, And I believe Sam says the same thing. And funny enough, now I feel like if you ask me what's my favorite Walter Mosley, I mean, this is. Because in reading it obviously informed the way that I played this character so much as well. But it's, I think, whatever your most recent experience with an author, it's living in you, in a very present and visceral way. So I feel like it's still just kind of in me, So it's my favorite right now.
Okay, girl. And I know that you have an infinite love of travel, food, and wine. Yes, and as a consummate wine consumer myself, I need to know what your favorite type of wine is.
Okay, at this very moment, it is a Montepulciano. I am in love with a Montepulciano. I'm always going to be a fan of a red, though. Bottom line, I'm a red wine girl always till I die. I do not do white wines. Yeah, it's not my thing. More love to you, to the ladies who want to put a wine glass.
White wine to me is like, I think it's a beautiful thing for a summer day to look. It looks cute. It looks lovely. But a red just feeds my soul. It calms me. It comforts me. It's lovely. Yes, Pinot Noir, my go-to. Syrah. Is when I'm feeling spicy. But my Montepulciano is my absolute favorite right now. And in general, I think I love an Italian red. So
you are my absolute favorite leading lady right now. I loved you in this limited series. And I'm looking forward to seeing even more solid, grounded work from you in the future. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of your time today.
Absolutely. From your lips to God's ears, I hope you see me more often as well.
Oh, it's going to happen,
sis. Talking to you again soon.
It's going to happen. All right. Bye now.
Bye-bye. Mm-hmm.
Okay, y'all. And last but not least, I got Miss Dominique Fishback. Baby, she did a 28-page research situation to play Robin. And Robin is a young lady who you guys will see in all of the episodes of The Last Days with Ptolemy Gray. But her character is very integral to the whole entire series. I don't want to ruin it for you because I really want you guys to watch it because it is some excellent filmmaking for the small screen. So here we go with Dominique Fishback.
Hey, I love that red lip.
Thank you, Diva. But what I really need to know about you, girl, is this 28-page PDF that you wrote on Robin. I need to know all about that right now.
I would love to talk about that. Well, usually I journalize my characters, but this time, every time I sat down to do it, it was resistance. And I was like, so I can't fight and try to be something that she's not. I think she was like, girl, I don't journal. Like, yeah, other characters do that, but I don't do that. I said, okay, cool. Let's find a different way in. And I read the book and there was so much beautiful things about Robin that wasn't in the scripts. And I said, how can I easily tell this to Sam and Walter and the producers so that they know, like, that they know what I hope to bring from this character. So I said, the only way I could do it is to put the pictures that I believe. I'm going to start with her name. Her name is Robin. Like, we don't really know her true dreams, but we have to know it. So I used what I knew, the basic, her name, Robin, like a bird, fly, right? She has so much trauma in her life that she wants to be able to fly away, but a plane can't take her far enough. So she thinks, what about a rocket ship? It could take me off the earth without taking me off the earth. And then maybe I can meet my own extraterrestrial being like E.T. and find home. But before she goes, she meets Ptolemy, who, because of the state of his mind, he is in a different timeline. His mind intrigues her. Who is this extraterrestrial like being? And she finds home. So there was that. And then I was putting like what in her appearance can say, "Don't mess with me," without her having to say it. What's a show, not a tell thing. So I pulled up these scars, and I really wanted her to have scars. So the scar across is not from the book; it's just something that I made. And then Walter and everybody was really cool to implement it, and I made her a natal chart to know her birth signs and like all these things. I really delved deep. I pulled images from like The Professional. Because in the book is very much more of a relationship is different from the show. We didn't go that direction, but how can we bring some of that energy where she's like, "I'm in love with you, Leon," like I was trying to say, like, let's have fun. Let's like kind of, does she love him like that? That's kind of weird. What is actually going on, but not be afraid to say, wait, does she love him like a granddaddy or like what,
I'm fascinated by what you said, because the way you broke that down was really deep. You're you're such a deep sister. I love you. And the projects that you pick are deep. They just, I don't even have enough adjectives to describe how much I really enjoy your work. And I thank you so much for sharing that with me. Because when I was doing some research, I'm like, oh, I got to ask her about this, because like, really, I can't. But to your point about loving someone like that, you can love someone and you can be in love with someone, and there's a difference. Mm-hmm. So I think that Robin loved Ptolemy, but she wasn't in love with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that is where all of that empathy came from in her heart. Empathy that she had not been shown, but her heart was big enough to show it to him.
Yeah. Unconditional love. Unconditional love. And her being able to, I think one of the gifts of Robin and the gifts that I got from even Judas was, in my personal life for Judas, was the ability to soften because I felt protected. And now Robin, I think a lot of us, especially from Black girls from some neighborhoods like mine, like East New York, we do have to have a hard exterior. But I want to be soft. Like, I want somebody to make me feel like I can be soft. And Ptolemy gives that to Robin, because he doesn't want anything from her. As soon as he gets his mind right, he's wanting to provide for her. So she's able to soften because she doesn't feel like she's in any danger anymore. And that's a pleasure. Yeah.
Well, I definitely wasn't in danger having this conversation with you. I tell you that much.
Okay, I'm glad.
It's been my pleasure to speak with you again. I hope we get to do it many more times in the future. And congratulations. You were just brilliant.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I appreciate you.
You're welcome. I appreciate you too.
Yes, bye now. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Yeah, y'all. Remember that name, Dominique Fishback. I mean, she has been on screen with heavyweights like Jamie Foxx, like Samuel L. Jackson, like Daniel Kaluuya, and she's holding her own in scenes where it's nothing but her and these men by herself. This young lady is one to look out for. I'm telling you, she's a bad mamma jamma. All right, before I get into this last interview with Leighton Meester from The Weekend Away, I think I'm going to talk about a little Turning Red. So Turning Red is the latest Pixar joint that is going to be released this week on March 11th. It is directed by Domi Shi, who won the Oscar for the Disney short Vale a few years back. It stars Rosalie Chang, Sandra Oh, Ava Morse, now please forgive me if I butcher these names, honey, Maitriyi Ramakrishnan, Hyun Park, Orion Lee, Wai Ching Ho, and James Hong. Now, Mai Lee is, I'm going to show these pictures of my friend Brandon while I'm talking. So Mai Lee is a 13-year-old little girl who's torn between being her mother's obedient, perfect daughter and, giving into the chaos of her youth. As it were, that is not enough. When she gets too excited, she turns into a ginormously big red panda. And she has a little crew. Brandon drew me some pictures of her little crew, and they are loving this boy band called H-Town. That is their jam. That is their heart. That is where they live. Honey, let me tell you something. These little girls in this film is everything. The biggest lesson that you will get from Turning Red is that we should be accepting and embracing of all labels. This is an excellent family film to watch with a child or a teenager who is on that verge of being LGBTQ, or somebody who's being bullied, or somebody who just doesn't feel like they fit in. This is an excellent film to show to those types of children and adults too, because there's some adults that don't fit in or feel some kind of way. And it also shows that people have all sorts of sides to them, and some of them are really messy and some of them are really wrong. And I met some that got some really messy sides in the last couple of weeks, so they're saying something. But can you imagine if your mother turned into this big monster that was trying to stop you from going to a concert? Child, I think I would lose my mind. It's a wonderful, wonderful film. It shows it pays homage to so many things, like the love of boy bands from little teenage girls. I remember as a kid, my mom taking me to see the Jackson 5. And I remember, yes, with Michael Jackson. And I remember little girls could barely get the word Michael out of their mouth. They were so excited. So I love that they pay a little homage to that. I love that Pixar is really getting exemplary with their photography and how crisp and close up they do these shots, these animated shots. Let me just reiterate the fact that it's animated. It's not even live action, it's animated. And they do these close up, crisp shots of cooking in slow motion. It is everything, but it's gonna make you hungry. Every time they pop a dumpling, I'm like, I might need to pause the movie and go eat. But this film is really quite enjoyable. Everyone is going to love it. I'm pretty sure that when we're talking awards next year, that this film will definitely be in contention in the discussion for award season, because it is just freaking adorable. Again, it is called Turning Red. It is produced by Pixar. It is directed by Domi Shi. It stars Sandra Oh and Rosalie Chiang. And you guys don't want to miss it. You really, really don't want to miss it. All right, let's get into this last interview for the evening. It is with Leighton Meester about her film called The Weekend Away. It is streaming on Netflix right now. It has been doing so since March 3rd. It stars Leighton Meester as Beth. It stars Christina Wolf as Kate, Luke Norris plays Rob, and Alad Bakri plays Zani. Now, this film deals with Beth when she goes to visit her best friend in Croatia. She goes there for a field trip or a girls get together, and her best friend Kate disappears, and she's racing around town trying to figure out what happened. However, each clue that she gets into what happens to her friend is an unsettling deception, not only about her friend, but about some other people that are close in her life that she would have never seen that kind of situation coming from. So without further ado, let's get into this interview with Miss Leighton Meester talking about trust, betrayal, and The Weekend Away on Netflix. Hey, Leighton, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good, good, good. So this movie and your role as Beth in it was everything. I love it. I love a good thriller, murder mystery kind of situation. I love it so much. But the question I have for you is, there's a circle of trust that's happening throughout the course of this film. And I was wondering for you, do you have issues with trust, or do you consider yourself a very trustworthy person?
I in myself feel that I am trustworthy. I like to think that. I think I pride myself on that. I think my friends, my family, like they can count on me. I mean, I have that kind of belief in myself. As far as trust goes, I will say that it has been a long and weird path for me, but I would say like I have learned to trust. So, yeah, it's been a long journey, but yeah.
Girl, it's a long journey for everybody. You just can't walk around trusting everybody. You got to be like this sometimes. You know what I'm saying? So this film is based on a book. Were you able to read the book before shooting? And if so, how did reading the book encourage you to want to move forward with playing Beth?
You know what? No, I didn't know about the book beforehand, and I did not read it beforehand. I did the weird backward thing of reading it afterwards. Mainly the reason why is because I was like, well, it won't help or hurt me not to, and I won't want it to inform how I do this character, since there were some differences. Once I read it, I realized that it's actually pretty similar. There were some like changes that they made for cinematic reasons, but Yeah, no, it was also written by Sarah Alderson, who wrote the novel. So it was rich with all the like character development that she had done for the novel, and she was very much around for collaboration and any questions that I had, and we, you know, went through all the scenes together and discussed to no end like everything. So I felt really supported in that way.
And Beth is betrayed rather by two of the people that are closest to her, right? How do you feel about being betrayed? Has that ever happened to you? And if it did, how did that make you feel?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's so funny. Betrayal is such an interesting word because it sounds so dramatic, but that's absolutely what she's going through. And like, I've had that happen too. I've had that happen. Like,
it literally happened to me today, and I'm just like,
no.
oh boy, this interview's right on time.
Oh no. Well, I hope nothing as tragic or harrowing happens to you as it does in The Weekend Away. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I'm hoping nothing tragic or harrowing like in The Weekend Away happens to me either. I wouldn't wish that on anybody, not even you. But go ahead and finish what you were saying about betrayal. You were saying it's such a interesting word.
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, you know, I always like shy away from using sort of like what I think is hyperbolic or something, but that's absolutely what I've been through. Like, I think that a lot of people could say the same. And I mean, not necessarily always relationship, but the first things that come to mind are relationships that I've been in where I've been, you know, whether it's like cheated on or lied to, you know, without too much detail. I guess a relationship I was in, I sort of found out sort of like this guy that I was with kind of, God, he really like had a lot of mean, evil thoughts about me. And I say evil, it's so like, I don't even know if that's the right word, but he had a lot of really like underlying condemning critiques of me that were like really just as I discovered them and as I found out, I was like, this is about you. Like, you're so insecure. And, you know, he was really putting it on me when I think it was him sort of hating himself. And, you know, again, like I can look back at those times and be like, well, I wasn't ever perfect, but I was a good girlfriend or I was a good friend or, you know, and so that's a weird one though. That's, you know, it's weird to say that. And nothing is ever one-sided, but in this one instance, it was. It was
right. Right. Well, that is my time. I want to thank you so much for speaking with me about The Weekend Away. And FYI, but not really, I kind of loved you in Country Strong with Gwyneth Paltrow. That's one of my favorite movies that you've done. So I just wanted to throw that out there.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Bye.
Bye.
All right, y'all. That does it for this episode 201 of The Curvy Critic with Carla Renata. If you have never been here before, please give me a big thumbs up to let me know you are here. Click that bell for notifications if you are on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. And I will see you next week. I got a lot of really exciting things coming to you next week. And don't forget to check out, probably by tomorrow morning, Around the Curve. It'll be on TikTok and it'll be everywhere else too. All across social media. You will see it on Instagram and you will see it on TikTok. So and let me just recap what I talked about. Make sure that you go see Turning Red, Pixar's new animated release directed by Domi Shi, which will hit on March 11th. The Last Days of Ptolemy Gray, which hits March 11th and 12th with the first 2 episodes. It is on Apple TV Plus, starring Samuel L. Jackson. And also check out The Weekend Away on Netflix. And if you have some time after watching all that, pop on over to Stars and check out Shining Vale with Courtney Cox and Greg Kinnear. All right. So until the next time, y'all, please stay safe. Please continue to keep your vigilance. We are still in a pandemic. It's not as bad as it was, but we still there. So keep washing them hands, keep doing your thing, keep staying vigilant and doing all that. And I'll see you here next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Oh, and Batman is doing real good in the theaters, isn't it? I'm sorry. All right. Love, peace, and hair grease, y'all. Deuces.